All right, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, broadcasting out over Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Long Island. And we love having this next guest on. He breaks it down in simple ways where I can understand it. That's always important. But he is the president and CEO of Chelsea Groton Bank. It's Michael Rauh joining us. Mike, good morning. How are you?
I am great, Lee. It is so good to be with you. And I can tell you, in all honesty, the way I can break it down simply is because I'm pretty simple myself. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you about what's going on in the world.
Well, that's good. So I appreciate that. So let's start with some Chelsea stuff and then get to some stuff just in a general sense as far as banking and finance, if you don't mind. Because sure. I know you guys really have been sort of front and center, in particular on PPP loans. Did you guys lead the area in PPP loans? How's that work out?
Yeah, we decided early on in the pandemic to embrace anything and everything we could to help the community. PPP loans being one of the major ways. You know, there's a lot of as you know, you've been talking about for a long time. A lot of federal government money, that's been out there. Some of it directed at helping small businesses who, through no fault of their own, were shut down or had reduced hours. And so we fully embraced the PPP program and couldn't be more prouder of our team. We literally quadrupled the number of people we had working on commercial lending and were able, in the first two rounds of PPP last year, did about $75 million in loans. That was in sort of bank years, that was about 4.5 years worth of lending that we did in a matter of about 6 weeks. But the good news is that translated into about 8,000 jobs in the region, and I think that's something that we're incredibly proud of.
You know what I get a lot of questions on, not to divert too far, but what's the rule as far as people not wanting to go back to work? You got to come, right? They're not supposed to get supplemented income from the government if that's the case. Like if I have a business and you give me the PPE and I'm trying to keep you employed and for whatever reason you're gone for X amount of time and then I can bring you back and you don't come back, you're not eligible anymore, correct?
There's a lot of complications in this, and I would say that...
I don't want to put you on the spot. No problem.
Well, the truth of the matter is when the government says we're going to give away billions and billions and actually trillions of dollars,
right,
and to try to do it fast, there are people that are going to try to take advantage of that.
Right.
And so, there's been a lot of, sort of high-profile cases of people who got money who arguably shouldn't.
Right.
But I really think in the overall scheme of things, that was a very small number, and the overwhelming majority of the money, our average loan, I think, ended up being about $80,000. And you think about it, that's 2.5 months of salaries. That's not a lot of money. Those are really small businesses, and I can tell you, every single customer I talked to who received a PPP loan, and we did about 600 of them in the first round. Every single business owner I talked to said they would not have made it through had it not been for that money. So, I think there's always going to be people who take advantage of the system, if you would.
Sure.
But I think that was a little bit overhyped.
All right, and where are we with all that now? Is this wrapping up?
We just wrapped up the third round of the program, which started right after the first of this year. Actually, just ran out of money about 10 days ago.
Okay.
So the PPP for now is officially closed. But
right,
it's been a great program, and between last year and this year, we did about $120 million for local businesses that, as I said, would not have survived had it not been for that money. So I think it's great.
We're talking to the president and CEO of Chelsea Groton Bank, Michael Rauh, joining us. Every once in a while, we bring him on to straighten things out, talk to us a little bit about banking and finance and things going on in our community. And you guys not only were number one, I think, in PPP, but you were number one in mortgage lending too, right?
Yeah, that's when, every recession I've ever lived through has been different, and this one was certainly different. The fact that we set a record for mortgage lending in a recessionary year doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, why prices are high and houses don't stay on the market longer than 2 or 3 days. But we 2003 was our previous record for first mortgages, and we blew right by it in 2020. And again, I can't tell you how proud I am of our team, and this is very true of community banks around the region. All of this was being done while most of our team was working remotely, while town halls were shut down, and it was hard to get mortgage deed records, transfers done. The lawyers were working remotely. The fact that we were all sort of working in this challenging environment and setting a record at the same time, I think is really incredible.
What do you think the reason is behind that? I mean, lower interest rates? Was it just maybe a little bit of influx in government cash?
Well, in our region, it's the combination of things. Certainly, low interest rates always stimulates demand.
Right.
Very low inventory. There's not a lot of houses available here. You had a lot of demand for, all the people who were working from home. Well, all of a sudden, this house isn't big enough for two of us working from home plus three of our kids going to school.
Right.
We need a bigger place. So demand went up. You had people leaving the cities and trying to get out into the suburbs because they could. So I think all of those things sort of came together, and the real estate market continues to be hot right up until now. I mean, it's still a crazy world out there.
All right. So I mentioned interest rates, and you explained it perfectly. So where are we with that? Is that something we can expect to go up in the other direction now, or continue to go down?
It's hard for them to go down any further. I mean, we're really at kind of a generational low point here. At some point, rates will start to go up. My personal feel, the Federal Reserve has said that they don't see rates going up until at least the end of 22, maybe into 23. I kind of feel like there's going to be some pressure. You were talking about getting people back to work. Every place you go right now, people are hiring. And it's not just, the restaurants and the airlines and the hotels that, had the challenges during the pandemic. I was in downtown Mystic the other day, and the post office has a sign hanging outside saying "Help Wanted."
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be pressure on wages, which ultimately, wages are the biggest contributor to core inflation. And so when you have a hard time hiring people, the natural tendency is to try to induce them by, upping the wages. That eventually leads to inflation, and that'll eventually lead to, higher interest rates. So at some point, interest rates are going to go the other direction. If I could tell you exactly when, I wouldn't still be working here. But.
Well, that, like you said, that will lead hand in hand with if the inflation begins to creep up. Now we're spending more money for goods and services, and that is something that we've expected to happen for a long, long time. The government, even during Trump's administration, definitely during Obama's administration, has been, not only propping up the stock market, but other things as well. We're just waiting for this inflation to hit us. This is just going to have to happen somewhere along the line, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, we're not going to see the kind of inflation that, that worries you in places like, Argentina or Italy or Greece or some of the places where inflation's been out of control. The fact is, the economy is cyclical. Things get heated up. There's a bubble that bursts someplace, and, things slow down, and interest rates fall to try to stimulate things. Then there's a recovery, and then, you start doing well again, and then there's some other bubble. It's just I've sort of learned, having been doing this for 40 years, that there is sort of a natural cycle to these things. We happen to be at kind of the, we're probably past the bottom of this cycle, and we're in the recovery mode right now. Maybe almost, getting into the heating up mode, and things will overheat, and who knows? A year from now, 2 years from now, something will burst again, and off we go into the cycle again. You just sort of learn. When you're in banking, you just sort of learn that these cycles come and go, and you just have to ride them out, for better or for worse.
All right, let me ask you one more. I got a feeling I asked you about this last time, but I'm still thoroughly confused, and it's still dominating a lot of the financial reports and experts and all that go along with the cryptocurrency. What do you know about that, man? Talk to me, help me, save me. What is going on there?
Do you invest in corn futures?
I do not.
Okay, then I wouldn't worry too much about investing in cryptocurrencies.
No, you think
I mean, my personal. I know there's a lot of opinions, and a lot of people have them out there. I don't view Bitcoin and Doge as currencies per se. In my mind, currencies are backed by governments.
Okay.
I view these things more as sort of commodity investments like gold or corn or silver or iron futures or hogs.
Okay.
They're unregulated. There's a lot of they were the technology underneath them is actually interesting, but the use of them. When you see something that goes from $20,000 to $60,000 back to $30,000.
Yeah.
That's not a currency. That's a commodity. And so I think the general run-of-the-mill person like you and me, they're really not in the current stage. They're really not suitable investments for most people.
Okay.
Everybody will tell you, I made a lot of money because I bought low and sold high. That's people don't really tell you when they lose a lot of money. They only tell you when they made money. So
right.
Be careful what you wish for.
All right, brother. Thank you, man. What else do I need to know? Where can folks, find out more about you guys, what you got going on?
ChelseaGroton.com. It's the place to go.
Right,
the other thing I just want to say, and again, it's a tribute to the team. We decided early on at the Chelsea Groton Foundation last year that we were going to do everything we can to help people and organizations in the local community. And
right.
So we actually doubled our giving in 2020. We gave more than $1 million to local organizations because they really had the double whammy. A lot of these nonprofits, the demand for their services went up because so many people were out of work. And at the same time, they couldn't host any of the events that they usually have to raise money. So they were really caught between a rock and a hard place, and it was important for us to do as much as we could to help them through it as well.
So that's great. So can people find out more about that somewhere, too, just at the website?
Yep, ChelseaGroton.com. It's all there. We just we'll be doing another grant cycle coming up later this summer, and always happy to have people apply for funding.
All right. Michael Rauh, CEO, President, Chelsea Groton Bank. We get him on once every couple of months to talk about some of the things that are going on, and we appreciate it. Michael, enjoy the rest of your day, but thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lee. Always great to catch up with you.
All right, pal. I'll talk to you soon.